topic that's very near and dear to my heart right now. So, at least as of making this video, I just installed the motor mounts on my bike last weekend. And it got me thinking. Balancing your hobbies with projects that become work. And by that I mean, so this specific project, right? At first, it was fun. I really like working on cars and motorcycles and hands-on stuff. So I was wrenching on the bike, I was playing some music, taking a little video, having, chilling with my dog, just having fun. It was entertaining to me. Well, when the job gets to a certain point, as this motor mount job did, it gets to a point where it's not fun anymore. You're battling, right? You're in a fight with a piece of machinery. And you're spending a bunch of time and effort and maybe not making a lot of progress. And trying to figure out what the heck to do and brainstorming and doing a bunch of research. And it just becomes stressful. And as somebody who has a somewhat stressful job, and there's a lot of different things going on, I don't need to go out of my way to find stressors in my life. Not that anybody does, but you know what I mean. So it makes you wonder, right? It's like, at what point is something worth doing because it's fun and there's a high probability it'll be fall into the hobby category, versus not worth taking on a certain project because it'll just become a work and a project. Now this is, of course, assuming you have enough money to pay to be able to pay somebody to do something, right? If you're building a deck on your house, well, maybe you can't afford to have somebody do it except yourself, right? So at that point, well, you either don't do it or you do it yourself. That I totally understand. But we're talking about things that are in, lower dollar value stuff, maybe, that, you can kind of afford to do it one way or the other. And you got to remember, right? All your time obviously has significant value. So let's just say you're an hourly employee and you make, $30 an hour. Let's just say, it doesn't matter, any number. Your time at that hourly job, you could technically, assuming you can work overtime, which a lot of jobs you can, you could work overtime and make, say $90, right? Work 3 hours overtime, make $90. Now taxes and all that crap, notwithstanding. Just to keep the number simple, $90. Well, if you're going to spend 3 hours on a project working on your motorcycle, let's say, that motorcycle project better be saving you $90 or giving you $90 worth of added enjoyment compared to working, or you're not really saving yourself anything. If you hate working on motorcycles, you're probably better off working the extra few hours and paying somebody to do the work. If you absolutely love it, you're probably better off doing the work yourself. But there are times where that threshold can be unclear. And trying to balance out things that and really determine what makes sense for you to do yourself versus pay somebody to do, that's something I've always struggled with. I always gravitate toward doing things myself, not even from a financial perspective necessarily, but because I have this preconceived notion that it's going to be relatively easy and I'm going to do it as good as or better than somebody else, which is definitely not always true. It's just kind of like the way my brain justifies things. So, for example, this project, right? It took me probably 8 hours worth of, 6 hours worth of extra time trying to pull the swing arm shaft out of the bike. Now, a professional at a dealer or at an independent shop, I'm betting and guessing, has ran into this before. So that they would be able to do something, whether it's with a puller or a different press tool that they have on hand, or just whatever they do, they would have gotten the part out faster, much faster than I would. So I ate the normal time it would take to do the job. So we'll call that 4 hours of labor, 5 hours of labor. It's probably what it would take like a dealer or an experienced tech to do it. And I spent 10 hours because I'm not an experienced tech. I'm a Joe idiot with his motorcycle, right? So it's a sweet truck. I've seen him drive around. So considering that, right? If my time is worth that, just for argument's sake, $30 an hour, I spent $150 worth of my time that I that I, on top of what I'll call the hobby time, because doing the job itself I wanted to do. I just didn't want to do the extra 5 hours of labor or trying to push the shaft out. So the question then becomes, was it worth $150 worth of my time, in this scenario? That's for you to decide, right? I don't know. I actually haven't decided in my specific case. I'm a salary employee, so I'm actually not even sure what my hourly rate is. I have to do the math. But I'm not sure if it's worth that amount of time. The only difference for me is, too, I can't just go work overtime. So that's part of it. But anyway, you can generate income in a bunch of different ways. A form of income generation in this case is not spending as much money on somebody else's labor. It's essentially income, right? This was a task that I needed to be completed. Changing the motor mounts. So if that job at a dealer, say $1,000, and I spent $200 on just the parts, well, I netted $800 of income. I've just sacrificed some of my labor. So I've essentially worked overtime for that week, even though I have a 40-hour a week job. So, that's one way to look at it. It just depends on how you prioritize your time and the type of work you're doing. Now, I could go do freelance computer-aided design work, maybe, and make as much money or more in 5 hours. I could be a day trader in the stock market. Well, I couldn't, it's my job. But anyway, theoretically, right, there are other ways you can make much more money. But yeah, if it falls truly into the hobby category, fully, like let's say routine maintenance, right? Maybe you really enjoy doing routine maintenance. Well, 99 times out of 100, routine maintenance isn't going to result in an unpredictably long amount of time and heartache. In that case, even if you can go to Jiffy Lube and get a $25 oil change, maybe it's not worth it because you enjoy it, right? So, just a matter of putting stuff like that into perspective. I think people oftentimes get caught up on, and I'm all for it, but trying to save money to get your bottom line where it needs to be every month. But, sometimes you gotta add horsepower, i.e. income, but spend a little bit more money. Sometimes you gotta save a little bit of money, i.e. shed weight, and still stick with the amount of horsepower you have. Just a different financial strategy depending on the scenario and the tasks at hand. If you have a family, if you don't have a family, wife, all that stuff, that's gonna change things. I mean, I blew a better portion of a weekend working on this bike, which I really, kind of didn't have the time, but at the same time I definitely do because I don't have a ton of, I keep myself busy, but it's exactly that. I keep myself busy. If you have family, your family more or less keeps you busy. So your priorities are a little more dictated to you. I'm assigning my own priorities, right? I'm my own boss kind of thing. So I can choose to spend my time different ways. Other people are a little more forced to spend their time certain ways.